In this section, we're going to take a look at how to use Excel to work with the normal distribution. So let's say for some reason we have a normal distribution and the mean is going to be something like 500. Let's say we have a standard deviation of 60. And remember, with a normal distribution, we can find probability of less than, greater than, or between. So let's say for letter A, let's say we want the probability that X is less than, let's say something like 400, all right? And so what we would do is we would go, and this is just by hand, just to verify that it does work. So we would have to do a z-score, and that would be 400 minus 500 divided by 60. Right? So that'd be 100 over 60, or 5/3, which should be 1.66, but let's just go ahead and throw it in the calculator. So in our calculator, we would do parenthesis 400 minus 500, close parenthesis, divide 60. And we would end up with our negative 1.67. All right, and then we'd have to go to our table and we'd have to get a probability. And unfortunately, I don't have my Z table currently brought up, but that's how we would do it the old way. Now in Excel, it's really easy. We could just go through and it does everything for us. All right, so we're going to do equal norm dist, and I'll type out I'll write out what the parameters are. So X is 400, the mean is 500, standard deviation was 60, and we do want cumulative. We want everything up to and including that. All right. And I'm going to shut that off. And so we get 0.04779. All right. And in fact, I can go into my normal distribution. So just give me 1 second. I'll bring it up just to show you what the probability is. So just hold while I do this, just because I want to verify that we do get the same answer. So I'm looking at my Z table and it comes up. Okay, so hopefully you can see the Z table. Remember, we got 1.67. So on our Z table, we would have negative 1.6, and then we go all the way over to 7. So we get this 0.04746. And right here, we got 0.04779. So really close, okay? Just a little bit of a disparity, pretty much negligible, considering that we are just using fictitious sorts of problems anyway, right? So we do see that it works, okay, very nicely. So this is the probability of less than 400, okay? Whatever it might be, successes, or success, or let's say probability of 400 or less in the data distribution. Okay. And now what if we wanted more then? Okay, so let's say for some reason I wanted, what's the probability that X is greater than, let's say 700. Right? We're going to get a pretty small probability. So in our Excel, we would just do equal 1 minus norm dist. And I haven't forgotten that I do have to go through and make sure we define all the parameters. So X is still going to be 700 this time. Mean is 500, standard deviation is 60, and we're going to do true. And notice we had the 1 minus, so it gives us 0.00042. Okay, so this is the probability that a randomly selected observation is greater than 700. All right, and I guess I'll define that a little bit better up here. Is less than 400. All right. Just to illustrate what we're doing with this, we're going to use the function equal norm dist. We're going to have X, which is the value. Okay. We're going to have mu, which is our mean. We're going to have sigma, which is our standard deviation. And then we always type in right here, we're either going to type in true. Actually, it's always going to be true no matter what, because we're not trying to find exactly. All right. What about between? What if we want, for some reason, that we want the probability that X is between, let's say something like, we said 500 was the mean. So let's say, well, mean was 500. So let's say something like 450 and 570. Right? So we're just going to use the same function that we've used before. We're going to do lowest or highest minus lowest. So this is going to be equal norm dist of 560 comma 500 comma 60 comma true minus norm dist of 450 comma 500 comma 60 comma true. Right? And that's the probability that a randomly selected observation is between 450 and 560, I think we said. I'm going to verify that just by looking back at what I had. 570. All right, so I'm just going to have to change this. I just copied down the wrong number. So this should be 570. All right, and I'm just going to change this to say 570. No harm, no foul. Nice and easy. Okay, so really nice. We can do these sorts of data distributions using Excel very quickly. All right, so we don't have to use the calculator, which might be a little bit cumbersome. And also, we can do these sorts of at least and at most problems, or more than or less than problems, very, very easily by utilizing Excel.